got about 15 minutes where we need to set ourselves tidied up and go to the pub. So, for those of you who were last time, remember we had a chat about... I'm going to be careful with my words because I've seen them talk making sure we tell people how we make sure we tell everyone that PHP is very alive, and don't tell people that it's not dead, if I've got that right. But following that, Liam suggested kind of a chat about what other languages are doing to promote themselves and doing better than PHP. Is that the right angle?
Yeah, so my thinking was like, someone new that comes to PHP as a language, I think they'd end up seeing a few problems maybe that they wouldn't see if they go to another language. So I have some thoughts on that. One of those is basically everything in the JavaScript ecosystem now uses npx as a tool. So if you go to install Tailwind or run Tailwind or something, you don't need to install it into your project necessarily. You can use the Tailwind CLI using npx because it's just built into Node at this point, or it's automatically installed alongside Node and npm. Whereas if you want to do something like that with PHP, there isn't really a solution. You need to install Composer, then also install a global dependency, then run this one-off command that you might never run again. So I feel like things like that, other languages do better. Similarly, PHP has really, really good support with, we've got PHP CS Fixer, and PHP Stan, and Psalm, and PHP Unit, and so many other tools. But how does someone new to the ecosystem really know what to use? If you go into Go, their CLI just has like an auto formatter built in. They have testing utilities built into the language. PHP doesn't really have that. So is there anything we can do there to help improve the intro to PHP and make it clearer to people that might be coming from another language?
Well, the error messages have improved since PHP 5, when you have this wonderful thing where you just get a blank screen and try to guess what had gone wrong. So you get more for those descriptive error messages.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. Rust as well, it's like a fairly new language on the scene. 20 years old, new language on the scene. But it's really praised for its error messages, because when it gets an error message, it shows you the exact, not just line where something went wrong, but it highlights the specific columns where something went wrong, points you directly at that exact code. In a really user-friendly way, regardless of if you're in the CLI or in the web or something. So I agree, that's probably something that can be done better.
Does PHP still have the Israeli error message in it if you get the unexpected double colon?
They fixed that.
They fixed that now. It's like unexpected, like pamayim nekudatayim or something like that.
So if someone is new to the ecosystem, how do they find all of those tools? That seems like discoverability. Even if we can't make them build into the language, then surely we can have a list of them somewhere, right?
Is that
PHP the right way?
Maybe. I don't know, but if it's like you do a page where it's just like, look, this is PHP, this is what it's about, here's all the cool stuff and all the cool things you can install.
In ways, Laravel is heading slightly that way, I think.
Yeah, it kind of is, isn't it? Because it's a skin over all of the it's a wrapper over all of these other things. Yeah.
Is this PHP maintainer that's not really wanting to be opinionated, leave it open, which makes it quite difficult to get something tied into the language, which is there where Laravel's differing, where I'm going to have an opinion or I'm going to come up with a product and that's how I'm going to put it in there, and most people probably won't complain.
Maybe that's where the problem is, where languages like Rust and Go are really opinionated. Like they say, this is how you should format your code. Don't bother doing it any other way. We'll have a CLI tool built in that will do it that way for you. Whereas, because it's left up to interpretation in PHP, even though we've got lots of great tools to do it, do you use Psalm, or do you use PHP Stan, or do you use Fan, or something else to do your static analysis? like even if you're made aware of these tools, you've still got so many choices and different projects do different things, which is a good thing, but just not something that other languages have to think about.
There's so much legacy with PHP as well, right? I think, you've got code bases going back, all the way through the noughties to the late 90s, which probably aren't in production anymore. Well, I'm sure bits of WordPress date back that far, and like all these projects have WordPress is probably a good example of that. They've got a coding standards that they adhere to that's been with them since the mid-noughties, I believe, that is very not current with what some things like Laravel and Symfony now do. I'm not sure even those two are totally aligned on how they think you should format code, which is probably indicative of a problem too. You're going to talk? No.
With regards to official endorsements of tools, I'm sure that at least some of you saw yesterday that the PHP Foundation have officially endorsed and kind of taken on board the Franken PHP project, and maybe that is a sign that they're looking at endorsing more community projects. I'm not saying that they're going to be funding them or working on them, but at least pointing people in the direction of trusted tools that a lot of people need. So for example, like Franken PHP has a server, and then obviously PHPSW is the standard in debate. And probably PHP standard at this point is also quite widely used. So potentially in the future, if the PHP Foundation did go in that direction more, I think that this problem would be partially solved if they also made it clear in the documentation on the website that these were the recommended tools.
Yeah, PHPSW has been mentioned a couple of times now, so I'm going to wade in with both feet. PHP 8.4 has been out 6 months now, yeah? Okay. I recently upgraded to 8.4.7, and the biggest hassle I had was with the tools. CS Fixer isn't 8.4 compliant after 6 months. It will only work up to 8.3 unless you then start frigging around with flags to say ignore versions and stuff like that. I mean, that's not good. It should just work. I mean, especially after 6 months, for Christ's sake. PHPMD, mess detector, just throws up a boatload of deprecation errors, so nobody's maintaining that either. I mean, we're going to be looking, hopefully, for the PHP Foundation to, I don't know, take on some tools or whatever. Let's make sure they're being updated, yeah? I mean, especially CS Fixer, that's the go-to for most people. And I was really surprised after 6 months that it just doesn't work out of the box.
There is an open pull request for that, and it had some activity the other day with people complaining that they didn't have support and people saying that they don't want to have to enable the flag everywhere, which makes total sense. No. There's also a lot of people reporting that it works absolutely fine with PHP 8.4, and that it just doesn't support the new features of the language, which they're working on. And every time someone asks what the progress is of the pull request, the maintainer responds with, if you want to see PHP 8.4 support, submit a pull request. In the pull request for 8.4 support, without a checklist of things that they need to do to support 8.4. So yeah, I totally understand. I don't really understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Presumably part of that is that it doesn't have commercial backing, so it's no one being paid to do this stuff.
Yeah.
Which is it's kind of a problem, isn't it? Because you rely on these tools, and obviously we're all indebted to the people who work on them, but at the same time, we need them fixed.
Just want the work, please.
I think there is a level of responsibility that you have to have as a maintainer, that if you acknowledge that you don't have the resources and the time to maintain a project that's heavily relied upon, then there is a level of responsibility to onboard new maintainers and find people in the community that do have the time. And I think that a lot of projects do that quite well. And put out announcements on GitHub.
Do they raise much money in donations, do you know?
I do know that the original creators of PHPSW are the Symfony team.
Yes, they are. Yes.
And I think that is still partially true, at least. So there is some backing, I think. But
I think I've got both of them on my LinkedIn, so I might just send some messages.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah.
And Symphony's paid for, is it? You have to pay to use Symphony.
No, but there's a company that
Sponsors it. I guess,
Yeah.
effectively. Yeah, it's sponsored by companies.
So I'm not quite as in tune with it. Like the other language examples, are they relying on open source tooling to be their go-to, or is there more commercial backing, more stuff tied there, and is that potentially a difference?
Good question. I mean, Golang has the backing of Google, which means they've had commercial backing into it for quite a while. But I think it's less that it's not really, it is an open source project, but the tooling for like formatting and stuff like that is just built into the language. It's part of the standards that they've used to build the language, so it's not, it's like if there is a new version of the language, of course the format is going to be updated to support those new features.
Maybe PHP predates some of this stuff.
Part of
Predates the common usage of something.
it's just about, like, PHP predates everyone having the command line bits installed as well. I don't think you just used to set it up with Apache point, like as an Apache module or whatever. And there's not really this, like, where are you going to put in your, I suppose the Apache module could do the linting, but people still, you still run it as, it's inherently different to like Python or Go, where you use the command line tooling as part of your dev workflow all the time, whereas PHP stuff you don't have to, which I think is it doesn't make it easy to implement. Do you think there's space though for like sort of an enhanced distribution of PHP that has this tooling in? I don't know, I'm asking the group. Like as well as PHP Standard Edition, there's like I don't know what they call it, I'm not going to get into names are hard, but like a PHP special version that comes with all the, like, just a load of opinionated choices of all these things we've been saying about, just bundled in with it.
Yeah, like kitchen sink version. It's where you get everything.
PHP Enterprise.
Isn't that a complaint of Laravel that all the Symfony heads, they're just kind of like, why do you use that? Because it's got all that stuff in it that I don't need. Really what they want is the thing without it all in, so they can add it all back in again. And obviously the issue is that we don't know what to add in if it's all taken out. Because like there's a huge reticence of people using Laravel because it's not performant because of all those extra layers of stuff. But when you work out how much time it takes you to put those in for most applications that you use, like, I mean, I always use the auth example. I mean, writing an auth system is a pain in the ass you wasn't doing. Like, if I can get that for free on anything on an install, then happy days. But yeah, it's that difference between how featured it is. I think Laravel is probably getting better if you start at Laravel from the documentation, because if you read down it and install that way, then you get the use Sail or Docker, or that kind of stuff. Like you're using the first-party packages alongside.
Anyone have any major insight to add?
I think on the Laravel thing, the Laravel team built a website called php.new. I think that was Beyond Code, working with the Laravel team. But it's basically a website that gives you like a curl request you can do to run a bash script or a PowerShell script or whatever on your local machine. And it will install PHP for you, and it will install Composer, and it will install a couple of those opinionated tools. I think the problem comes where that isn't the default that people use. If you look on how to install PHP, you're going to get 100 different answers from different people. If you look on how to install Node, for example, it's going to be go to the Node website, run this command, or download this package. So I think unless everyone is doing like basically the same thing, it's going to be hard to do. But maybe that is just a symptom of PHP being so much older and the knowledge being so much more widespread, but I can't think of the word. it's just like spread out and everyone's not on the same page about it.
It's that, I think, most of all.
Right?
It's not one community, is it? It's various different things with different levels of overlapping.
Yeah, the thing with PHP is it's a very good language to get started with because it's so flexible. But then at the other end of the scale, you've got developers like ourselves where you stick very closely to the types and stuff and you think, I can't live without them. So totally different ways of thinking on the PHP side of things over the years that the language has actually developed.
I'm going to say we should leave that there because we need to let everyone go home. So unless anyone is, we will go to the pub. But thank you very much for coming. We will be back next month.